Imagine working with your team on a project and you're trying to do everything over email. Things seem to be working well enough at the beginning. Once you start adding more and more than a couple of people or share more than a couple of files, the whole entire project becomes disorganized. Managing projects is tough enough. It's a struggle to juggle people, work, and expectations under pressure. Problem is, many project management platforms make it even harder by overcomplicating things, leading teams to abandon tools when the promise fades and frustration sets in. That's when teams turn to Basecamp. Famously straightforward and effective, teams stick with it and projects thrive on it. Basecamp makes collaborating on projects easy without having to waste time. Teams that use Basecamp send less email and have fewer meetings. If you are struggling with projects, sign up for Basecamp. The pricing is simple and they give you all the features on a single plan. No upsells, no upgrades. So go to basecamp.com/enigma. It's basecamp.com/enigma and try Basecamp for free. No credit card required and cancel anytime. Thank you, Basecamp, for sponsoring the episode. Entrepreneurs Enigma is a podcast for the ups and downs of entrepreneurship. So the wins and the fails that we all face being entrepreneurs, how we learn from adversity. Every week I talk to a different entrepreneur with a story to tell. I'm Seth Goldstein. Come with me on the journey. This is Entrepreneurs Enigma. Let's get started. Hey everyone, welcome to another edition of the Entrepreneurs Enigma podcast. Today I'm here with Talha Sabri of RadicalX, which is a remote first and distributed team internship tool.
Yeah, so we're a virtual internship platform where anyone in the world can go onto a platform, join a team, and work with some of the best tech companies in the world.
That's wild. It solves the problem of getting the experience to get the job. You have to get the job to get the experience, but you can't get the job until you have the experience, the whole kind of rigmarole.
Correct. Yeah, that's the problem that we're trying to solve here.
You know, what I love about it is that it's literally a global endeavor you have here. Like looking at your website, you have people from all over the world. So your interns get to meet people from all over the world and expose them to different cultures, which I think is a side benefit as well.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, so we have these social events where we have breakout rooms. And what we've heard from our interns is that, sometimes it's the first time they're actually talking to someone outside of the country.
Oh, wow.
So it's really cool that we're also getting people connected through internships. Yeah.
That's fantastic. So how did you come about this? I'm looking at your LinkedIn profile right now. You've done a lot of different education. You did micro masters here. You went to, I think originally you went to Oxford, right?
Yeah. So basically, I started out with, so in the UK, they have the University of Cambridge certification.
Yeah, Cambridge, sorry, wrong one. Yeah.
Yeah. And then I was at this small college town called Amherst, which is close to Boston. Yeah. So they have the 5 colleges there. So I had the opportunity to study at Mount Holyoke, Amherst, Hampshire, UMass, and Smith. And so basically at that place, I was really studying social entrepreneurship and international relations. That's how I started, and wanted to work in DC at a think tank or maybe become a journalist. But then I found this path in technology, and I found that I can actually really scale my impact through technology and then combining that knowledge of public policy and sustainable development. So yeah, that's how this kind of really started.
You've done a lot. I mean, you've worked at Microsoft, you worked at Boeing, you've founded a few companies. You've been busy, to say the least.
Yeah. So I've been basically working since I was 14 years old.
Wow.
Started my first company when I was 15. I was basically doing this events management company. And then throughout university, I got the opportunity to work with some amazing startups, but also think tanks and civil rights organizations. But really after university, that was when I started my first company. It was an ag tech company. It was a really ambitious project. We were trying to basically take shipping containers and turn them into IoT farms. So completely automated farms where we were coding climate. And the idea was that if you look at climate change, there are certain parts of the world where you won't be able to actually grow food anymore. So we basically ship this container anywhere in the world. That was a super ambitious project, really difficult, really technical. Then I ended up at the University of Washington. That was really my pivotal kind of moment of, getting into technology, got to work with Microsoft and Boeing. And after that, I founded a product innovation consulting company. So The idea was that there are a lot of startups, a lot of companies who are trying to break into technology. So how do you help them across business design and technology? So at that point, really, in a couple of years, I formed a pretty big team, and we were able to work with 140 different companies around the world in 35 countries.
Oh,
That's
wow.
why that's why you see a lot of different kind of experiences on my LinkedIn profile.
Yeah.
And yeah, worked with Uber in a number of different markets. And yeah, the last kind of couple of years, I was working for a SaaS company in San Francisco, where they were basically building this amazing revenue operations tool, which uses intent data. And the idea is, if you're trying to sell to someone, if you already know that they're interested in a product, then you're not wasting time on unqualified candidates. So that's basically how it started. But edtech is something that's super, super close to my heart. My
Mm-hmm.
family has a long history in education. We have a number of different schools. So last couple of years, I was thinking about what is the biggest kind of intervention we could make. And what I saw is that in the world, there are a lot of boot camps and courses like Coursera and edX, but there's no kind of organization that's providing internship experience at scale.
Yeah.
And if you think about digital skills, right, you don't actually learn digital skills through lectures. You learn that through applying your learning, applying from
Mm-hmm.
failure, applying from learning from others, but also access to mentorship. So I came across this interesting framework, which is called the 70-20-10 rule. And it
Okay.
basically says that 70% of the learning actually happens from on the job training, 20% happens from peers, and only 10% happens from lectures. And I was
Wow.
like, if you're trying to learn something like product management or product design, you can't be sitting on Coursera for 6 months. You got to be doing it practically.
Yeah. We're going to take a quick break, hear from our sponsors, and get right back to the show.
You may know you're listening to this show along the Marketing Podcast Network, but did you know there are other great shows on MPN to help your business? Colin Jeffries and Eric Reed host a great podcast called the Rethink Marketing Podcast. Colin, tell us what these fine folks will get out of listening.
Well, Jason, on the Rethink Marketing podcast, we unpack the myths, misconceptions, and flat out lies of marketing and sales. Our listeners tell us that we help bring different perspectives to common business growth, wisdom, and advice.
That's great. Where can people subscribe?
They can subscribe at rethinkmarketingpodcast.com or listen on their favorite podcast platform, including marketingpodcasts.net.
You heard him. Go subscribe.
And then the other part that is really interesting is that throughout university, there's a really big focus on individual projects, but in the real world, you're collaborating with interdisciplinary teams. If you're even studying engineering, you're not just going to be working with engineers, you're going to be working with designers and business people.
And
So a big
marketing.
part of the program really is, how do we actually expose people to how real tech teams work? How do we actually bring those people? If you talk about the global aspect, if you think about some of the challenges we are facing as humanity today, like we talk about climate change or world hunger, these aren't problems that are local. These are pretty global problems, and we have to work across geographies. We got to work
Mm-hmm.
across disciplines. And that's basically what we're really trying to instill at RadicalX. We are really fortunate to have people from 125 different countries. It's really been an amazing collaboration. So yeah, so that's how this entire thing started. At the same time, as you said towards the start, if you look at the big challenge in the labor market, you need experience to get a job. You need a job to get experience.
Yeah,
And
it's
it's
a
not just about
quandary.
experience.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's also about relevant experience, right? That's where things become even more difficult, because there are a lot of amazing people who have 10 years of experience, but now they're transitioning their career. If you look
Yeah.
at the US, after the pandemic, there are a lot of people who were in the retail industry, who were in the hospitality industry, and now they're trying to get these in-demand jobs. So, they've been in the workforce, but now they need actual relevant experience. So
Mm.
yeah, that was one big aspect of why we started this, because we literally saw that there was no company that was providing this at scale. And our big idea here is that if experience is the decisive kind of thing, yeah, in terms of getting someone hired, then why don't we provide everyone the experience? And
Yeah,
then when they get
absolutely.
that experience, we measure people based on their technical abilities and cognitive abilities once you give that opportunity. But don't exclude people from the very start. You give everyone the same opportunity, and then whoever basically makes the most of it, you reward them for that. And that's how our
Absolutely. Yeah.
platform is designed.
So you've done entrepreneurship for a while. What is the best thing about being an entrepreneur versus being an intrapreneur?
Yeah. So I personally, when I was at the University of Washington, Seattle, entrepreneurship was something that I was looking at, because the way I kind of function is I really like innovating, really like working on new products. What are the benefits of entrepreneurship? I'll talk about entrepreneurship first, is that you are working in an organization where there are a lot of resources, right? With certain technologies, with certain problems, it does help to have that network. But at the same time, with entrepreneurship, you have the same challenges with red tape and bureaucracy. Uh,
Yeah.
I think the best part about entrepreneurship really is that if you have conviction about a problem that you want to solve, then you don't have to go through these hurdles. If you decide that this is something that's worth building, then you can really go fast and get the resources you want. So that's, I think, a big benefit of entrepreneurship. You have a pretty clear kind of head there. But at the same time, if you are working at a company like Amazon or Google, you have sufficient resources that can really help expedite the process. So
They can,
I think
yeah.
both of them really have their pros and cons. But yeah.
So on the flip side, what keeps you up at night? What's the scariest thing for you in entrepreneurship especially?
Yeah. I mean, right now we're really building this future work company, and we are developing this technology, which is a hybrid between a learning technology, but also recruitment technology. So there are a couple things that really keep me up at night. One of the things is that we're really redefining what it means to do an internship in the future of work, right? In the conventional world, in the traditional world, the way this works is you apply to 1,000 companies and you basically wait to hear from one of them or two of them. Then you have to wait till the summer to start an internship. And now what we're proposing is that in the future of work, you don't have to wait for anything. You can just go on a platform similar to Airbnb and Uber, join a team and start work and do whatever you want to do. You don't need to have 5 years of machine learning experience. The entire idea behind the internship is you're trying to figure out what you love. So the thing that keeps me up at night is that whenever you're trying to develop something that has something to do with changing behaviors, right? That's high risk, high reward. One of the things that we do understand is that when we are working with some of the bigger employers, it will be a pretty big shift. So that's one big thing, right?
Yeah.
The second part really is, to be really honest, I mean, if you think about learning outcomes and job opportunities, right? We are dealing with university students and humans, and everyone has their own way of learning and they have their unique needs. So you can't actually, it's not like a product like Uber where you can basically test something really rigorously over 2 months and be like, okay, this app is working. We are dealing with something with education. You got to be patient. You got to let, things flow. So that's another thing that, our biggest thing over here is that we don't just want to provide opportunity. We want to provide the right opportunity at scale, sustainably. So those are the two big things that I think about. But at the same time, one of the things that really keeps me going is every day when I wake up, when I look at my LinkedIn activity, when I see people tag me and my company, and also on our app, the messages that I get hundreds of messages every day now from students all over the world. And they're basically saying the same thing that, no one else actually replied to our LinkedIn message ever. No one gave us this opportunity. So we're really, really, so I think that energy really kind of keeps us going that, end of the day, I mean, we want to be building a sustainable product, but we want to build something that's useful, that has an impact, that really helps people's lives. So I think, those are things that really keep me going every day.
That's fantastic. So what's the most important thing you carry with you all the time?
The most important thing, I would say, that's a nice question. So I actually, I don't actually move too much. I'm just like working pretty much all day. Yeah, I mean, end of the day, I think the biggest thing that I carry every day is that knowledge is not a privilege, it's a responsibility. If I got the opportunity to go to an amazing institution like the 5 colleges in Amherst, I learned about so many, world problems. I don't want to be one of those millennials who just is woke during college and then after that just kind of forgets. So I really kind of carry this every day that the knowledge that I have, the resources that I had, the privilege that I have, it's a responsibility. It's my job to make sure that I give the same opportunity to everyone else. So I think that's something that I carry every day. I don't take that as something for granted. I work really, really hard every single day to use that knowledge and those resources for other people.
So Talha, where's your watering hole online? Like, where do you hang out the most?
So, I mean, basically, I don't know if you went through our platform. So we have a couple different platforms. One of it is actually a community platform. We have a platform that's pretty similar to Facebook, but it's our own social network. We're super big on community building. I really believe that everything that we're doing is for the community. And it's also driven by the community. The internship bit is important, but it's really shaped by the community. So we have a community app. It's called community.radicalx.co. And over there, you can basically see me. We do events every day. We do a number of podcasts. And There's also a chat feature, so you can, reach out to me there. And then the next platform really is LinkedIn is kind of my primary go-to.
I love LinkedIn.
It's the platform that I use the most, and it's the platform where I've been able to meet some amazing people. So yeah, LinkedIn and then our own community app. Those are the two platforms I'm live on.
Awesome. And so people can also check out RadicalX.co to see what the general
Correct.
gist of what everything's about. There's videos there. Great explainer video that explains different things about the whole process. That's fantastic. So Talha, thank you so much for being on the show. We really appreciate it.
All right, Seth. It was really nice talking to you.
Awesome. And we'll see everyone next week. That was a great show. Hey, if you're enjoying Entrepreneurs Enigma, please give us a review on the podcast directory of your choice. We're on all of them. And these reviews really help others find the show. Also, if you're getting value from the show and want to buy me a coffee, go to the show notes and click on the link to help me stay awake while I bring you more great episodes to your ears. That's in the show notes, and I look forward to the next episode. Take care, guys. Goldstein Media hopes you have enjoyed this episode. This podcast is one of the many great shows on the MPN Marketing Podcast Network.
You may know you're listening to this show along the Marketing Podcast Network, but did you know there are other great shows on MPN to help your business? Colin Jeffries and Eric Reed host a great podcast called the Rethink Marketing Podcast. Colin, tell us what these fine folks will get out of listening.
Well, Jason, on the Rethink Marketing Podcast, we unpack the myths, misconceptions, and flat-out lies of marketing and sales. Our listeners tell us that we help bring different perspectives to common business growth, wisdom, and advice.
That's great. Where can people subscribe?
They can subscribe at rethinkmarketingpodcast.com or listen on their favorite podcast platform, including marketingpodcasts.net.
You heard him. Go subscribe. This podcast is heard along the Marketing Podcast Network. For more great marketing podcasts, visit marketingpodcasts.net.